My name is Ethan Carter. I'm 43 years old. My wife, Irene, and I have been together for almost 20 years. We have two grown kids, Michael and Sasha, both studying in New York City now. We live in a quiet neighborhood on the outskirts of Portland, Oregon, where we run a small family bakery. It's not a supermarket, but people come to us for real bread, with a crisp crust, warmth, and soul. Everyone in town knows if I'm the one at the oven, it's going to taste like home. Our life was predictable, steady, even cozy in its routine. We built everything ourselves, worked hard, saved up, opened the bakery, raised our kids. And then one phone call shattered it all. Our close friends, Mark and Natalie Chambers, had been part of our lives for nearly a decade. We'd met at a parent-teacher meeting. Their daughter Lily was in the same class as our Sasha. Weekend barbecues, road trips, helping each other out. They were the kind of people you could rely on. Mark and Natalie ran a small IT company, built it from scratch. Smart, grounded, real people. And their daughter, Lily, she was like our third child. Bright, curious, full of energy. Whenever she came to the bakery, she'd beg to watch how I knead dough, whipped cream, or cover the rising rolls with towel. She loved croissants, said they smelled like a kind morning. I never understood how a 10-year-old could say something so poetic. She was just that kind of soul. One Friday, Mark called. "Hey, Ethan, we got this last-minute trip to Hawaii. 20 years married. We've been putting it off forever. Could Lily stay with you guys for the weekend?" "Of course," I said. "She's family." They left the next morning. On Sunday, while Lily and I were rolling dough, my phone rang, an unknown number, a calm, polite woman's voice, and I knew instantly something was wrong. A plane crash. No survivors. Mark and Natalie were gone. I turned off my phone and just stared at the blank screen. Lily stood beside me, holding a rolling pin. No tears, no panic, just a hollow look of someone who didn't yet understand the words. I knelt down and hugged her. She whispered, "Is this a dream?" "No. Sweetheart, but you're not alone. We'll be with you. Always." I didn't think. The words just came out. Because what else could you say? That night, after Lily fell asleep in Sasha's old room, I went to Irene. "We need to talk. I want her to stay with us." She looked up from the sink. "Ethan, are you serious?" "Yes. She's a child. She has no one." My wife slowly dried her hands. "Listen, we're in our 40s. The kids are grown. We finally have peace, no school meetings, no sleepless nights. I'm not ready to start over." "But it's Lily," I said quietly. "I know who she is," Irene replied. "But I can't do it again. Not emotionally. Not physically." I didn't argue. I just sat in the hallway, my head against the wall. Not angry. Not hurt. Just empty. A few days later, a lawyer called. Turns out Mark and Natalie had already named us Lily's guardians, and their business was worth far more than I imagined. We wouldn't just be taking care of her. We'd receive a substantial trust fund until she turned 18. That night, when I mentioned to Irene again, her tone had changed. "You know," she said softly, "maybe this is fate. She needs a home. And maybe God chose us for a reason." I said nothing, but something deep inside me went cold. After that, Irene was like a different person. Energetic, cheerful, full of purpose. She called lawyers, filled out forms, decorated Lily's room, bought her books. She looked radiant, but it all felt staged, like a performance. Lily, meanwhile, barely spoke. After school, She'd come to the bakery, put on an apron, and sit next to me in silence. So I started giving her small tasks, weighing sugar, cutting dough, sifting flour. One day she asked quietly, "Uncle Ethan, if Mom and Dad saw me baking, would they be proud?" My throat tightened. "I think they already are," I said. She smiled faintly, and in that moment I knew she was ours. Not because we had to, but because love doesn't ask permission. But at home, things began to shift. Irene started coming home late. "Just needed some air," she'd say. Then new perfume, new dress, a hairstyle I hadn't seen before. I didn't ask questions, but I noticed everything. One night, as she was putting on makeup, I leaned against the doorframe. "Where you going?" "Out with the girls," she said, not meeting my eyes. "New wine bar downtown. I need to relax." "What girls?" "Some friends from yoga." "You quit yoga 6 months ago." She froze for half a second, then smiled faintly. "New ones. You don't know them." I said nothing. When the door slammed behind her, the silence in the house felt heavy. Later that week, while she was in the shower, she left her laptop open. I shouldn't have looked, but I did. And there it was, a message thread with Anthony Watts, a guy she used to work with. I remembered his name. She once called him a smooth talker. Now there were emojis, teasing lines, private jokes, messages going back months, longer than Lily had even lived with us. And the last one sealed it. Friday, 7 p.m., Verona's. He won't suspect a thing. I closed the laptop and just sat there, staring into nothing. Not angry, just hollow. That Friday, as she got dressed, I stood by the doorway. "So are you to tell me about Anthony Watts?" She froze, lipstick in hand. "What?" "I saw the messages. He's one of those new yoga friends." She turned, her face flushing. "You read my private messages?" "I asked you a simple question. Are you going on a date with him?" "It's not a date. It's just dinner." "He won't suspect a thing. That's your idea of friendship?" Silence. Then defiance. "I have a right to my own life." "What about our marriage? About Lily, the girl who's living in our home right now?" "You controlled everything your whole life," she snapped. "I'm tired of it." "Say it," I said quietly. "You're planning to cheat." She looked away. "Not yet, but I've already decided." That night, I moved into the guest room. When she saw me packing, she asked, "What are you doing?" "What I have to. I won't sleep next to someone who's meeting another man." "You're overreacting." "No, Irene, I'm just done pretending." She slammed the door behind her. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, hearing Lily turn the pages of a book in the next room. Her world had already fallen apart once. I swore I wouldn't let her be betrayed again, even if it meant burning down the ruins of my own. The next day, I got a haircut, bought a new shirt for the first time in years. By 6:30 that evening, I stood in front of the mirror, buttoning my cuffs. When Irene came downstairs in her black dress, she froze. "Where are you going?" "To dinner." "With who?" "With someone I actually enjoy spending time with." "Ethan, what's happening? You're going on a date?" I thought we were free now. I didn't wait for her reply. I put on my coat, grabbed my keys, and left, not for revenge, for balance. Verona's isn't the kind of place you go just to eat. Small dining room, warm light, the smell of basil and roasted garlic. I knew it well. Irene and I used to come here for anniversaries. Tonight, It was my silent reply. I was meeting Olivia Monroe, the branch manager at the bank where our bakery keeps its accounts. We'd gotten friendly over the last few months. A few business meetings turned into a couple of honest, late conversations. She'd recently finalized a divorce. Her husband found a second life somewhere else, leaving her with a mortgage and a very quiet apartment. I respected her honesty and calm. When I asked if she'd meet me, she said, "Okay, as long as you tell me the truth about why." We sat by the window. I wore a new shirt. She wore a simple, elegant dark blouse. "I want to be honest, Olivia," I said. "This isn't a date, it's a statement. My wife is having dinner with another man tonight. I just decided not to sit at home." She nodded. "Fair enough. You want to make her think." More like, not let her feel in control of the story. We talked for a long time about bread and banks, about kids and betrayal, about how easy it is to lose yourself when no one reminds you who you are. "You'd be surprised," Olivia said, lifting her glass. "How many women live in the illusion that the world owes them something, attention, excitement, gifts, new feelings. And then they're shocked when everything collapses." Around 9, I walked to her car. "Can I give you one piece of advice?" she asked, stopping by the driver's door. "Please. No matter what's waiting at home, don't show that it hurts. People like your Irene feed on a reaction. If you're calm, they falter." Then she leaned in, touched my collar, and gave it a tiny spritz of her perfume. "Let it linger," she smiled. "Sometimes one scent says more than 100 words." The hallway light was on when I got home. Irene's car was in the driveway. It was 9:45 p.m. Either she came back early or dinner ended quickly. She sat in the living room, black dress still on, lipstick smudged, hair a little undone, an almost empty wine glass in her hand. As soon as I stepped in, she stood. "Where were you?" "At dinner, like I said." "With who?" "With a woman who knows how to be honest." She stared at me, then stepped closer. "You put on that new shirt and cologne on purpose?" I shrugged. "What are you trying to prove? That you can play this game too?" "No, Irene, I'm not playing. I'm living without lies, without secret DMs, without yoga alibis." Her mouth tightened. "You went on a date to get back at me." "I went to have dinner, without masks. What about you?" Her eyes flickered, and then something snapped. "You don't get it. I just wanted to feel alive. I'm tired of being only a wife, only a hostess, only a mom." "And Lily?" I asked. "For her, you're supposed to be the adult. Reliable. Where are you running?" "To restaurants with Anthony. The same guy you said creeped you out a year ago." She froze and whispered, "I was stupid." "Did he change, or did you?" I hung my coat, walked to the bedroom. The next morning at breakfast, she was quiet. I flipped pancakes for Lily while Irene sat with her phone, stirring an empty coffee cup with a tiny spoon. No explanations, no excuses, just a heavy silence, not the peaceful kind, the kind where no words remain. That evening at the bakery, Lily came up to me. "Why does Aunt Irene act like she doesn't like me?" I set the spatula down. "Don't say that, Lil. She's struggling right now. People get lost sometimes." "Do you still love her?" I looked into her wide, waiting eyes. "I'm thinking," I said, and I didn't have long to think, because Irene wasn't just lost. She was sinking and pulling us with her. The week dragged like a winter with no power. We barely spoke. She acted like nothing was wrong. Up early, dressed, out on errands back home, into bed. No apology, No explanation, just a cold performance of normal, as if we hadn't heard her say the quiet parts out loud, as if my dinner hadn't happened, as if Lily were just a guest, here for a couple of days. I didn't try to fix it. It was too late for let's talk. I just observed, logged the calls, the tone, the patterns. A decision was forming. One evening, coming back from the wholesale market, I found Lily drawing at the kitchen table. The house was quiet. "Where's Irene?" I asked. She said she had errands, Lily answered. She wore a black sweater and earrings. She looked pretty. I nodded, but something clenched inside me. I knew that sweater. I'd seen it that morning, ironed, the tag still on. A couple of days later, Irene started getting home even later. Same lines. I'm in the city, meeting a friend, bakery stuff. I started checking, not to control her, but to understand how deep her double life went. It all came to a head by accident. She went to shower and left her laptop open. Same chat, same Anthony Watts. This time, I read it all, from the beginning. Messages, photos, phrases, and a thread that made my hands shake, not from jealousy, but from fear. He was advising her about investments, telling her they could temporarily transfer a portion of the bakery into his name. She wrote, "I don't think Ethan will understand. We need to move carefully." I wasn't afraid of losing a marriage anymore. I was afraid of losing the child who trusted us, the business I'd built for decades, and of watching my wife destroy herself. Friday night, I shaved, changed, stopped by the bakery with Lily's favorite pie, and then drove to the restaurant where Irene said she'd be. I didn't go in. I waited in the car. At 9:10 p.m., they came out, his hand on her back. He leaned in and whispered something. She laughed, truly laughed. That's when I knew. It was over. The next morning, I called a lawyer, an old friend I trust. "Andrew, I need a clean, fast divorce. No drama, full asset protection. And I need a complete plan for guardianship." "No problem," he said. "Are you sure?" "Absolutely." That evening, the doorbell rang. 3 women stood outside. "Are you Ethan Carter?" one asked. "Yes." "We need to talk to you about a man named Anthony Watts, about who he really is." Their names were Linda, Tanya, and Alyssa, wives of men whose families Anthony had helped destroy. They told me about his patterns, the DMs, the promises, how he made women feel special, unseen, deserving of more, and then used them. Money, powers of attorney, temporary shares, even sham real estate deals. "He keeps a list," Alyssa said, "with last names." "He bragged online," Tanya added, "said he'd taken down 5 married women in a year. Are you sure Irene is on it?" I asked. Linda nodded. "He mentioned you." "Wrote, 'The baker isn't a threat. He runs on feelings. I'll put the business under my name." My fists clenched. "What do you want from me?" "Help. If Irene signed anything with him, it matters," Linda said. "Her statement could be the key." I nodded. "Come back Sunday. She'll be here." She will, I said. "I'll make sure she stays." When they left, I checked on Lily. She was watching cartoons. "Dad," she said suddenly, "does Aunt Irene really want to live with you?" I sat beside her. "She doesn't know what she wants yet, but I do. I'll do everything to keep you safe." She just nodded. Sometimes kids don't need analysis. They need presence. Sunday morning, I set the alarm for 7:30, though I hadn't really slept. I'd spent the night replaying one line. What can I say that doesn't destroy what's left, but doesn't betray myself either? Irene woke late, came out in a robe as if nothing was wrong. Tea? She asked, opening a cabinet. Sure. We need to talk. She frowned. What now? Don't start. I won't. Just please stay home until noon. It's important. It isn't only about us. She shrugged. Fine. But if this is another lecture about trust and marriage, I'm not in the mood. Not morals, I said quietly. Consequences. At 11:50, the three women walked into our yard. Irene saw them through the window and stiffened. Who are they? You'll see. I opened the door. Come in. They entered calmly, unhurried. Irene stood in the living room, arms crossed. I don't understand what this is. Good afternoon, Linda said, placing a folder on the table. We came to talk about Anthony Watts. You know the name, don't you? Irene went pale. Who are you? We're the ones he already used, Tanya said. Financially, emotionally, legally. We believed him like you. Wait, Irene cut in. I just fell in love, Tanya finished gently. So did we. I sat back and watched. This wasn't a trial. It was a lesson in scale. Here, Alyssa said, opening the folder, messages, printouts, screenshots from his locked accounts. She read aloud, Carter's wife, pliable. Husband's a baker with flour on his hands. I almost have the investment structure in my name. Just need to push. Irene blanched so fast, I thought she might faint. This can't be real. He told me he had serious plans. He told us all that, Linda said softly. It ends the same way every time. A broken family, an empty account, and shame that won't wash off. Irene sank onto the couch. My God! We have everything. Documents, testimony. Alyssa said, what we don't have is your formal confirmation. Irene looked at me. Ethan, I won't say anything. That's your choice, I said evenly. She swallowed. He asked how the bakery was structured, if we had savings. Said he could optimize things. I thought he cared. He cared about one thing, his profit, Tanya said, flat. Please, Linda added, help us stop him. If you confirm this officially, the police will act. Irene sat in silence for nearly a minute, then nodded. Yes, I'll help. After they left, Irene locked herself in the bathroom. I heard the water turn on and muffled sobs in a towel. I didn't go to her. It was her battle. She had to fight it herself. On Tuesday, she was called downtown. She went alone and came back that evening, barefaced, the certainty gone from her eyes. I gave a full statement, she said. Under oath. Thank you. Are you still filing for divorce? Yes, but I fixed it. No, Irene, you started to fix it. The damage was done a long time ago. She nodded. I understand. In the kitchen, Lily was kneading dough. Can I roll it myself? Of course, I said. Will Aunt Irene be okay now? I looked through the glass door. Irene sat outside, wrapped in a blanket, staring at nothing. I don't know, I said, but you will be. That's my job. After the police visit, Irene changed. Not like in the movies, where someone wakes up better. It was different, like the air went out of her. No drama, no scenes. She stopped performing, came down to earth. We lived in the same house, but not as husband and wife, as adults temporarily bound by walls and responsibility. She didn't argue, didn't plead, didn't explain. Sometimes she sat at dinner, eyes on Lily, as if trying to reach for something inside herself and not finding a handle. Lily, meanwhile, bloomed. Every night we baked something new. Cinnamon rolls, puff crescent cookies. I started teaching her how to fold croissants the right way. Her fingers were quick, her eye precise. One day, she brought a box of cookies to school. The next day, her classmates lined up with requests. Then came birthdays, school fairs. She kept a neat notebook, orders, quantities, fillings. "Dad," she said one night without looking up, "I like that you're not afraid to be alone." I smiled. "Do you like not being alone?" She nodded. "Very much." Weeks later, news broke. Anthony Watts was arrested in Cleveland, Ohio, trying to join a construction firm under an alias. Investigators tied him to at least 12 counts of fraud. They listed Irene as a witness. She traveled for a supplemental statement, then came back quiet. That evening, she stood in the kitchen while I sliced bread. "He kept records," she said softly. "A whole file. Women, money, schemes. I was just a number." I didn't answer. "I'm not asking for forgiveness," she added. "Not because I don't feel guilty. Because I'm not sure I have the right to ask." I nodded. "That's fair." Gradually, she spent more time with Lily, reading at bedtime, helping with homework, tying neat ribbons on boxed orders. And Lily began to accept her, not as a mother, but as an adult who was there and didn't lie. Through the window, I watched them in the backyard passing a ball. Lily laughed, and for the first time in a long time, Irene's laugh sounded real. The divorce was calm, no courtroom fights. I kept all the bakery assets. The house remained joint with a buyout option. Irene later sold me her share. She declined any stake in the bakery. "It's yours," she said. I was only standing next to it. We sat on the bench outside the courthouse. "What now?" she asked. "Live honestly." I said, "No illusions." "And we're Lily's parents. That's not nothing." She nodded. "Thank you for not choosing revenge." "I chose something else," I replied, "to protect myself, the child, and the meaning of what we built." In November, Lily and I went to Salem. A judge formalized guardianship. Her documents now carry our last name. When we got home, I watched her set the new ID into the drawer, like she was putting away a piece of fear, and then tie on an apron to bake gingerbread. That night, she handed us 2 cards. "Dad, thank you for finding me when I was lost. Irene, thank you for learning how to be real with me." Irene stepped outside to breathe. No drama, just a step in a different direction. I stayed and watched Lily slide a tray into the oven. A small girl who'd been through more than many adults, living in a house that smelled like warmth again. 2 years passed. The bakery was steady, regulars, pre-orders, even a line on weekend mornings. But that wasn't the point. The point was that Lily and I were running it together now. She'd grown taller, wore her hair in a neat ponytail, like she wanted to look older. Her own apron, her own recipes, her own clients. Her cupcakes were to hit unicorns, galaxies, tiny landscapes. A light hand and a wild imagination. Teachers placed birthday orders. "Dad, look," she called from the kitchen. New way to pipe the unicorn horns. "Show me," I'd say. I always looked, always praised, because it wasn't just pastry. It was a return to herself. With Irene, things were steady. After the divorce, she stayed, then later bought her own small place nearby, but still worked the bakery counter on weekends. With Lily, there was trust, not like family by blood, but like 2 people who had walked through a fire together. One night, as we were closing, Irene asked, "Ethan, do you ever regret not throwing me out that night?" I thought about it. "No, I regret that you betrayed so easily. Everything after that is consequence." She nodded. "I felt invisible back then. like you were always busy. Maybe I said, but here's what I've learned. If there's an emptiness in you, no one else can fill it, even if they stand beside you 24 hours a day. She said nothing, but later, when Lily came in from outside, Irene hugged her and held on longer than usual. Anthony what's got 8 years. The trial was quick. Dozens of statements, documents, message logs. Fraud, breach of trust, money laundering. The courtroom was full of women who no longer cried. They didn't look at him with pain, just clarity. He tried to talk about love and self-deception in his final words. No one listened. Irene attended and filed a secondary written statement. Outside the courthouse, she told me, I was in that cage. I'm grateful I got out. In January, Lily turned 11. We hosted a cupcake workshop at the bakery. Classmates came. Teachers came. A local reporter wrote a piece. The city's youngest pastry chef. Dad, she said that night, can I open my own corner in a bakery? For kids only? Yes, I said, with one condition. What is it? You won't just bake. You'll pass on what brought you back to life. She smiled. Deal. Sometimes, in the evening, I sit outside with tea and look through the window at the kitchen light. Lily baking, Irene steeping tea. In a house where there was once betrayal, there's steadiness now. Not perfect, not without scars. Just real. I don't need revenge. I don't need compensation. I need one thing. Dad, are you home? Yes, home. Last spring, Lily traveled to Eugene for a statewide junior baking invitational. She took the notebook where she logs everything, grams, baking times, room temp. I watched her pack, tie on her apron in the mirror, and realized how grown she'd become. When the bus pulled away, she pressed her hand to the window. I'll do it just like you taught me, she shouted. Just be yourself. I called back. That's enough. That night, the kitchen was quiet. No vanilla, no sugar in the air. I took out my old recipe book from 2007. First page, country loaf. Next to it, a crooked stick figure and a note from Michael. For Dad. That's when I understood bread isn't just food. It's how generations connect. 2 days later, Lily came back with a certificate and a gift box, tired but glowing. I didn't win first, she said, kicking off her shoes. But the judges said my cupcakes had heart, and that's rare. I hugged her. That's why I love what you make. Not for results, for the soul. With Irene, we're like neighbors who survived a fire and learned the right distance. Sometimes she brings tea. Sometimes she reminds me Lily needs notebooks. Sometimes she says, thanks for not burning it all down. Not out of pity. I answer, out of respect for what we lived. Recently, I found an old card from Natalie Chambers, Lily's mom. We'd once brought them a blueberry pie. She wrote, Ethan, you know how to make warmth not just out of dough, but out of a home. I held that card for a long time, then put it back. Yes, this house is warm again. Not perfect, not smooth, but true. Sometimes life has no fairy tale ending. It is quiet, warm, tired, smelling like fresh bread. There's a girl you didn't father who calls you dad. There's a woman you walked to betrayal with, whom you didn't crush, didn't curse. You drew a line. There's bread, flour on the floor, light in the window. And there's you, the one who didn't run. Because sometimes real strength isn't in leaving. It's in staying and doing it right.